In this video, traders, we're going to look at if you keep getting shaken out of trades, especially in this current wild market volatility, maybe try these things. Stay tuned. Hey guys, well, welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. All right, markets are crazy on the time of filming this. Hey, they've calmed down a little bit. We're only getting minor 1,500 point ranges on the Dow, only getting stocks bouncing 20%, falling 20%. So yeah, it's still crazy times. But whenever you're watching this, this is very, very useful kind of stuff, just generally, but even more so now because, hey, I've fallen victim to this, especially in the beginning. This volatility kind of took me a while to get dialed in. Now it's, I feel like I've got a good handle on this and it's, a great environment to trade. But there was a beginning where I was just kind of, just a little bit behind the curve, just missing out on things, just not quite in the right tune. I kind of realized I was getting shaken out of a lot of things a bit too soon, I was like, something's not quite right here. Go back to basics, have a look, think about exactly what's happening here. When I started implementing these, things are so much better in the right trades, holding the trades for the longer moves, in the right trades that I should be, obviously not all profitable trades, but far better performance. So I want to share it with you guys as well. Hopefully it helps you out. Okay, so first thing is stop reading the news and opinions. Listen, we've got these, let's say you're in the market and there's someone with a bullish opinion and a bearish opinion. Let's say you're long. You may well read a bearish opinion and it's a really good, solid argument for the bearish side. Really good. Right, and that might give you enough doubt and go, the market was up and now it's down a little bit. I want to bank these profits. It makes a good point, that guy there. If you're doing that, the trouble you have is that if you're looking at opinion, you've got these really good, sensible people, not just crazy people making all sorts of reasons, but sensible people, even verified people if you go on social media, who are saying things which make perfect sense to you. And the trouble is that hits your brain and goes, well, that makes a lot of sense. But then the other side is saying, well, you're long. You're like, so just steer clear of it. If you steer clear of news and opinion and just stick to the facts, of course, if you're in a stock and you need to see the news, then fine, of course, but opinion can sway you, especially when it comes from a kind of place of authority or someone you respect or someone who makes a really good argument. Because ultimately, listen, we know that we can make money both ways. You could squeeze that last little bit of juice out the long for the next couple of days, and then they could start to initiate the short and the whole thing collapses. So, it works both ways, even if they're right and you're right. But just be careful you don't get swayed with your opinions. With your trade, should I say, by other people's opinions. The other thing is plan to not meddle until specific times and prices. This is a really good one that's helped me loads. Is, hey, when you've got position on, decide when you're allowed to make adjustments, right? So when can you make adjustments? Okay, I can make adjustments during the European close. I can make adjustments at this price. I can look and adjust and adapt at these certain times. So be very specific. Before the European close is a great one, especially your equity markets tend to maybe have a swing high or low around that time. So you can say, right, I'm going to check it at this time to see what's happened. I'm going to check it before the close. I'm going to check it at the open. I'm going to check it. I'm going to have alerts at this price. What that does is it stops you because, guys, the moves are so much more dramatic, and hopefully you're dampening them off a little bit with size, so you're not having massive P&L swings, but the moves are so dramatic and big that you kind of, it gets you sucked into looking at stuff too much. And reality, really when things are probably going to be doing nothing. And also, if you think about it, you've got an extreme high and extreme low. If the price, whatever the price is doing in between that level, as long as it's not a level you're interested in getting, it doesn't matter, does it? Even though your P&L will be oscillating back and forth, all it does is kind of poke you to say, hey, do something. In reality, unless it comes to the end of the day where you might want to take risk off the table because you want to hold it overnight if you're trading a stock or whatever reason, unless it's breached a level, you don't have to look at it. It's only look at it because we feel like we should. But again, because the oscillations are much bigger than normal, it makes us feel like we need to do something. It makes us feel like we should be getting out of the trade, meddling with the trade, adjusting the trade. You get the idea, guys. Even adding to the trade when you shouldn't out of your plan. We're just trying to stay calm and focused and cool and make the right decisions at the right times in this current environment. Next thing is reduce size, close sum. So often we get a little bit too caught up in the smaller moves. We're holding for let's say a 3 or 4 day move, which is probably the optimal at the moment in this kind of swing trade environment. Of course, if you're investing for longer term and you believe we've got a good recovery, then you not really care what's going on. But if you're looking at these 3 or 4 day swings, or even 2-day swings, or even a couple of hour swings, whatever. You've got a rough idea what you're looking for, and so if you're in that, then just be mindful that if you're really too concerned about every little movement, you're probably a little bit too much size. It might make more sense to reduce the size down a bit or close some. If you find yourself wanting to look at a specific position a lot, I found myself in this situation a while ago. I was looking at this one position, was just in my mind all the time, and I had a few other positions on as well. And it wasn't like someone was underwater or anything dramatic or anything that I needed to be concerned about, but I just thought, why do I keep worrying about this position so much? A little bit too much size. Just peel it off. Okay, that's just a level now where I feel comfortable. Even though the total exposure isn't really adjusted by that much across the spread of the positions I had, the fact that I dialed some of that off just made all the difference. I wasn't constantly looking at that position. What's that position doing? What's that position doing? I was like, okay, it is what it is. It's part of the selection you've got. Let's see how it turns out. And that's sometimes it's just a slight little thing. There's a straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak. Hopefully not breaking backs, but you get the point. A trade, more hedged position. So going back to that point, actually, if you have, let's say you're risking X amount on a long over the next 2 days, or a short over the next 2 days, whatever it may be, and you're kind of all in on a currency pair, or you're all in on, equities are probably a little bit of an easier example. Let's say you're all in on the NASDAQ or the Dow, the S&P. You're constantly, you've got that risk on the table, and your stop level, whatever your stop level may be, you're risking X thousand or X hundred on that trade, then you kind of go, right, everything's focused on that. Whereas if you spread it, especially in this current environment, guys, if you spread it out, let's say you've got a bear thesis, right? Stick with that. 2-day bear thesis. You can go short the equity futures on one of the top threes if you're in the US, YM, NQ, or spread bet and CFD, or you can maybe pick more of a selection of stocks. You can still have the exposure and still risk however much you were prepared to risk on that trade initially, but just split it and spread it over the positions. So maybe you choose 5 weak stocks you've been watching, or 5 correlated assets, and split that up over those. So rather than, say, having £1,000 stop loss on one thing, you have £200, £200, £200. If you're using 1,000, using 10,000, using 100, you get the idea. The order of magnitude just changes depending on your account size, tolerance, etc. So that's something that's a little bit easier to stomach, because generally, even though the whole market goes lower, they're likely to go lower. They kind of move in their own little kind of move in their own little way. And sometimes they move, so it's a little bit more dampened, the whole move. Of course, sometimes you're going to get it when it just goes against you at once or for you at once. But generally speaking, they kind of one moves down a little below, then pauses, and this one and that, and it's a little bit easier maybe mentally to kind of see that and stick with all that. And then of course, if one's just not working, you can just cut it, and it's not all or nothing. You can cut it and go, right, well, that trade's gone, it's not working out, or if it gets stopped, it's not like the whole broad thesis of we're going lower is negated. It's just that one didn't work out, or one might just really run through the floor and get you. So it's a little bit more strategic and quite nice for this environment. I'm finding that quite useful as well, picking quite a few different positions, reducing the size to the combination of all those, what I would do normally on the equity futures, and trading it that way. Don't keep looking at P&L. Goes without saying, I've talked about this loads of times. If you keep looking at P&L, you're just out of it, especially now with the swings. You're up, you're down, you're up, down. You're just not going to do yourself any favors. And especially if you're trading for, let's say again, 3-day move, let's stick with that 3-day move, you're long off the low or short off the high, running, your P&Ls are high, you keep looking at it, you keep seeing that P&L, like, yeah, lovely, love it, it's a nice P&L, look at my account balance, oh, beautiful, and it starts to kind of rock back as markets do. All of a sudden, like, why should we back at highs and that high P&L, that was nice, that, I quite like having my account balance at that. Oh, now you get more itchy and twitchy, and of course it's just market flowing, ebbing and flowing, especially on a 3-day move. It's not going to go from A to B straight up. Of course, I have examples where they have, but you get the point. You're not going to have your P&L go from 0 profit right up to the maximum, and that's it. It's going to pull back and maybe consolidate a bit, maybe test lower, then wick, and then push back up and retake the highs. And if you're kind of constantly looking at the P&L and wanting to get back to where you were, not only will you end up getting shaken out of the position because you don't want to lose the money, but as soon as it comes back to where it was after a little bit of pain, so to speak, you're going to want to take it. In reality, the trade may have had another day to run and may have doubled your P&L, so you're selling yourself short. So just watch out for that one. Just careful about keep looking at P&L. Final thing, guys, is when review your technicals, not P&L. So when you're reviewing your positions, your swing positions, whatever it may be, rather than looking at P&L, how much they are up or down, Of course, if it's been stopped out, fine. If you hit your target, fine. But try to, again, keep the P&L out of it and just look at the technicals and go, right, I'm sure this one has headed lower. This one's playing nicely. That stays in the list. This one, went lower, found a bit of a bid, and now it's kind of flagging at highs. I need to consider dumping that one. And so, you're using your evaluation method on the technicals, which is assuming you got in using technicals, of course, which you probably have done if you're watching the channel. But if you're doing that, then at least you're adjusting and adapting trades based on the reason you got in the first place, rather than out of fear of either losing P&L or, because that will be the big thing. And you tend to do the wrong thing. One of your positions will go really well, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that P&L, I don't want to lose that, and you'll cut it. When in reality, that's just a nice start to the move potentially. So you better to identify technicals of your decision-making process rather than looking at your P&L. In my opinion, it helps loads, so it's well worth doing, guys. Those things are kind of some of the things, especially in this current market conditions, to keep you from getting shaken out of those trades. If you can stay in the trades and at least stick to the plan, even if you're right or wrong, it doesn't matter so much. What matters is the consistency of sticking to saying what you're going to do and being more methodical with your decision-making process, rather than reactive to P&L or to market environment or this or that or the other. Take care out there, guys. Bye-bye.